Now, we would like to encourage you to participate in a slightly different formula of the Congress compared to the last 6 hours or so that you have already got used to, namely, please participate with us in the expert debate. And the views shared will refer to the practices and experiences of experts who often have a different point of view on the same or similar problems. In fact, today, apart from different points of view of different companies, we'll also juxtapose different points of view of people from the same organization, which will be a new but very interesting experience for us. And the discussion will be obviously oscillating around the guiding theme of the Congress, but I won't let you in on the answer, no spoilers, because this is an answer to the this is the answer to one of the questions in the competition. A moderator will moderate the discussion, watching over the time and the schedule and the length of the contributions. Please join in and ask questions on the chat, and the debate will be moderated by Mr. Aleš Borego, General Director of KAIZEN Institute Poland, and basically we have the panelists in our studio where we will invite you in a while, but first of all, I would like to introduce them. Our moderator, Mr. Aleš Borego, graduated in industrial engineering at the University of Technology. He has a yellow belt in Six Sigma. He worked for years in the Mitsubishi Electric sales department as lead manager, and he's a consultant at KAIZEN Institute, first in Spain, then in Poland, and he has many years experience under his belt in building culture in organizations, including KAIZEN structure. He specializes in line balancing, designing, using KAIZEN tools, VSA, Yamazumi, and others, and he's also an expert in total productive maintenance and improving OEE in the organization. He participated in a strategic project in terms of implementing KAIZEN strat protection and expanding Hoshinkanri strategy. Katarzyna Pyrzyńska, graduate of the Poznań University of Technology as chemical engineer and Wrocław University of Technology. Now she's quality engineer and process optimization engineer at Gebhardt Stahl, Polska, and her achievements include implementing KAIZEN transformation and implementing the process of certification in QB44, guiding the company through the process of implementation QB44 with a positive result. At Gebhardt Stahl, Poland, she looks after optimization of manufacturing processes, quality management, control of the correctness of the products manufactured, and preparation of the company for certification ISO 901 certification. Another participant in the debate is Agnieszka Cukierlu-Lubiatowska. She's a graduate of the University of Economics in Poznań, Trade and Marketing, and Lean Green postgraduate studies at the Warsaw University of Economics. And just like the previously presented panelists, she works at Gebhardt Stahl Polska, and she's coordinator for marketing and sustainable development and assistant to the management board. Her many years of work for the building of a brand among the local community and CSR activities have been recognized twice by the chapter of the mayor of the city of Konin. And her company got a nomination thanks to her efforts in the environmentally friendly company competition. And Gebhardt Stahl also was voted leader in corporate social responsibility. And she also got an award for the company of a business good for the local community, for local commune. And she worked with KAIZEN Institute as a partner, and together with them she's been running the KAIZEN transformation project. She was also the initiator of collaboration at the Forum of Responsible Business and of signing of the diversity charter for this purpose, and employer branding, that's also a field, and supporting optimization processes, including in the field of sustainability. Now, the final panelist is the only man of the panelists, Sylwester Rybiński, Vice President of Gebhardt Stahl Polska, until last year also working in Gebhardt Stahl Polska in another capacity, and he built a wide network of contacts with customers who are among the oldest customers serviced by Gebhardt Stahl. For many years, he was an active member of the Polish-German business group in and he also got the Forbes Diamond Award for the company, and the company got it actually 3 times in total, including 2024. And he was nominated for the award of People of Merit for the Konin County. And he is among those working for many years. At the company, he seeks possibilities for development for himself and for his employees, participating actively in new projects, for instance, the QB44 quality certificate, or supporting the procedure for the preparation of the ISO certificate obtaining. He is a loving father and husband, and he loves classic dance and other hobbies. So now, Aleś, I give you the floor to moderate this part of the Congress.
Dzień dobry Państwu, witam serdecznie.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is the expert debate at our Congress, and since the people who have been following us over the last Congresses we held in the online format already know that we have this part coming up, during which, together with experts in continuous improvement, in the field of continuous improvement, we talk about various themes which are hot themes on the market. We wanted to find out how other companies introduce Kaizen transformation in their plants. And actually, we would like to change the formula a bit, because we don't have people from different companies, but people from the same company. And for this reason, we would like to talk to them and find out about different points of view linked to the different positions they have in the company and their role in the Kaizen transformation. And we would like to talk about Kaizen transformation at Gebhardt Stahl Polska in particular. And I have the pleasure of having you here in our debate. And I have Agnieszka here.
Dzień dobry, pani Agnieszka. Mam też pan Sylwester.
Dzień dobry państwu.
And Sylwester and Katarzyna. Hello.
Chciałem dzisiaj trochę zacząć w temacie transformacji Kaizen. Mamy dla naszych gości, też powiem,
Kaizen transformation. We have 45 minutes to talk calmly about different topics in terms of Kaizen transformation at Gebhardt Stahl Polska. And I do encourage you, the people listening to us and watching us, to write questions on the chat to our guests, addressed to our guests during the debate, because at the end I will leave around 10 minutes for a Q&A, so the questions from the audience can be asked about the themes you're going to cover. So I would like to start by addressing the topic of transformation. And I know that transformation, in terms of business transformation, started at Gebhardt Stahl Polska back in 2001. So I know that you, the Vice President Sylwester, you were among the founders of Gebhardt Stahl Polska back then. And when it all started, Kaizen had not emerged yet. So we had the business transformation from the very start, and the direction was different. And then Kaizen appeared over the most recent years, actually. And the question I wanted to ask of you is, how did it all start, this business transformation? And how and when did Kaizen emerge over the last couple of years? Okay, above all, hopefully these will be interesting minutes for you, exactly 35 minutes, and we are actually sure of that, and this is just by way of introduction. But coming back to your question, indeed, I am one of the co-founders of Gebhardt Stahl Polska. Actually, I am a co-founder in 2001 that happened, and back then Poland was not part of the European Union. And there were big problems with having our products sold here, products from Germany. And to make it easier for our customers, and we already had a couple, we set up a company, Gebhardt Stahl, here, to make sure that our products could be brought from Germany to to Poland, Młoda Królewska near Konin, that was our location, and we could then sell our products without any problems, without customs clearance and all other complications to our customers. So transformation. I was here alone at the start, and only several months later did Agnieszka arrive as the first employee of Gebhardt Stahl Polska, and that's how it all started. And it comes as no surprise to anyone. I didn't know anything about KAIZEN, but I can admit that I realized that since the company had been established, it was supposed to develop as far as possible. The origins were difficult because we didn't have anything other than good intentions, and we were full of the desire to develop the company, but we didn't have much else. And we have to emphasize the collaboration with Gebhardt Stahl GmbH, the unit in Germany, and with great commitment on the part of the whole management board, my colleagues. We did it, and we are still a sister company. And with that collaboration, the development progressed quite rapidly, so that in 2004 we decided to build the first shop. So we became more autonomous. So not only trade, not only sales, but also production. The first manufacturing shop was set up, the first machines, and I have to admit that in the context of KAIZEN, back then, we could handle it all ourselves. We were looking at actually our colleagues from the German company, because it used to exist, it had existed for quite some years, and we were only 12 people. But what we did, the company kept developing, and more machines were brought, and new employees were hired, and then we basically came to the point when we had to expand again. So that happened in 2017, and then afterwards we still lacked space for expansion. In 2021, we made this leap, this quantum leap by 40%, building a huge shop, actually 2 shops, 10,000 square meters, with totally new machinery, which we had not had until then. Spaltanlage, that's the German name of the machine we basically had back there, and you just need the money, you just need to draft a plan and build a manufacturing shop. It seems easy enough, but then to fill it with life, it is basically more of an issue, and we had to basically make sure that, you know, with big production we could do it all, because if you have small production you can load the trucks yourself and talk to the customers, but with this kind of production we launched with bigger production, this was no longer possible. So we had to handle the processes somehow that were ahead, and we talked to Agnieszka, and Katarzyna came slightly later. And what did we do? Well, we wanted to find some advice from someone. We knew that we were good, but someone had to suggest something to us so that we could become even better. And we were more or less certain that we wouldn't take a company that would sit around for 3 or 4 days and tell us some stories and leave us some books and obviously a big bill to be paid, but we wanted rather something more. We wanted to continuously improve our processes, and I have to admit that Agnieszka, who was studying Warsaw back then, she became familiar with the KAIZEN idea, and we thought, okay, let's do it. We looked around and we decided to embark on the collaboration with KAIZEN, and I have to say, at the start of our debate, that was exactly what we needed. Of course, we are not at the end of the process, we are in the course of the process, and basically this the road, it made us show that this is the road we wanted to follow. Yes, we are always in progress. It's always work in progress, right? We're never at the end. Exactly. So that's why I said quite consciously that it's not the end, right? We seek to do something better every day. Okay, so as I referred to Agnieszka, now, as has been said here, Agnieszka was there when the company was established in Poland, more or less, and so when the company decided to implement Kaizen culture or Kaizen project, how did you imagine that journey? What was the target you set yourself? I think it's not that black and white, and I would just add to the story why Kaizen appeared in our strategy at all. Well, in 2021, the management board decided firstly to expand the manufacturing shops to increase the production volume, but also to face the sales tasks which were set before us, high volumes, high amounts the owners required from us. So the business was most important. Secondly, new people had come to us, and the president started hiring people who had lots of experience in lean, such as Kasia Puszyńska, who come to us from automotive. She talked about processes, about programs, about the way of arranging these methods and processes which we had in our company, but in our culture there's also a lot of humility, because we started really with the present here. We have the pleasure of having a souvenir photo. The company wasn't there even. The owner just purchased a huge plot of land, and there were just empty fields, and we could set anything up. It all depended on the amount of money and on the commitment. So humility first of all. Secondly, responsibility, because the investors really made big financial outlays deciding to expand, but at the same time there was this idea and the task for us to start implementing a new computer software program, and this made us think, because from one manufacturing shop we were supposed to have another one and yet another one. So these projects and processes, there were supposed to have been quite a few. Their number was supposed to have increased, and our responsibility was that we realized that to kind of be able to handle it all, we needed a tool that will allow us to stop, because business is on the run today. It's rushing. Everybody is running forward. And with all due respect, the competitors are great and they are catching up and we are looking at them. But when you have big development, you need to say stop for a while. For one day, we stop and perform an in-depth analysis as to what we do, and most importantly, why we do it, so as not to do it chaotically, to find this point towards which we are heading. And this is an example of our culture and structures being small. Knowing the president for many years, I'd been working in various departments, but over the recent times I was more of an assistant, strictly speaking, and my tasks include marketing and image building. And so, thanks to the president's consent, during my studies at the Warsaw School of Economics, I met KAIZEN Institute at Lean Green, and Radosław Wieczka, the first consultant, really enchanted us, not only with the way he showed us the methods. They are not complicated, they are for everyone. And what I thought, well, but we had been actually implementing these methods for many years in the production departments and our working culture, and the fact that we seek to change something every day is what characterizes every single person who's been working for 20 years at our company, and the new people who came to join us. So education, humility and responsibility, that's what I would describe it as. And so I was lucky enough to encounter great people And I asked the management board for a meeting, and Mr. Petrula came, who also enchanted us with his knowledge, and also as a very well-mannered person, and the way he spoke, he knew that understanding one's needs, was most important. And I wanted to ask you an additional question, because you started talking about this first meeting, how step by step you got warm to implementing Kaizen. But what was the decision-making process like in terms of implementing Kaizen in the company? So,
let me start by saying that Agnieszka has this gift. She's a very persuasive person, definitely. But it was not the main reason why we got interested in Kaizen and everything that it involves. If I was to answer the question why Kaizen and why, as the management board, we were convinced about it, to become interested in it, well, it actually coincided with us thinking precisely about that, what to do. Well, if you are supposed to turn 40 people into 70 people in a short while, because that was the plan for the HR department development, if we were to develop quality control, logistics, and to add all the other areas that should be there in a company, plus we had machinery that we simply didn't know how to handle. We had to learn it all. The worst case scenario would be chaos, disorganized, non-coordinated operations that would only bring loss. That's what we wanted to avoid at all means, actually. I was very interested in the Kaizen project. I know all these people because I know my people, because they have been with me since day one. We really wanted everybody to create a well-knit team, everybody being convinced that they would work in their own company and not just, coming there 8 in the morning and leaving the company 4 p.m. So we really want to make sure that we know what they expect of us. And I was thinking that if we succeed in doing what we were to do together with the Kaizen Institute, we stood a chance, or actually considered a chance, to succeed. However, I understand that one of the key components was the involvement of people. Yes, absolutely. By all means. Without that would be out of question. I think that was the most difficult thing. Oh yes, we can meet and talk. I had those fantastic discussions with Maciej Pietrula, obviously, and other people from Kaizen Institute. However, the crux of the problem was that we were to make the people working for us would be convinced that we were doing that for them, so that we gain as much as possible for them. It's not art for art's sake, at least that's how I interpret that, and I think we agree. But the point of that is to improve the processes. Well, it really sounds nicely that we improve those processes by just a bit, but every single day. I'll give you this beautiful example. There are employees in our company that work on the shop floor. There are those that work at a warehouse, office workers, accountants, salespeople, all those regular departments. Now, take the production as a kind of example. What we wanted to do was to convince the shop floor employees that they should stay focused on their work by implementing Kaizen that would actually make their life easier and not more difficult. Take an operator who learns that every single time there's this spanner that he or she uses, and he or she should put it at the very same place. That means that whenever need be, they won't be actually forced to look for it 10 minutes. Now, if you convert those minutes into the, entirety of collaboration, that translates into several hours per person. And keep in mind that our profiles are manufactured for 2,400 meters an hour in terms of the total running length, with machinery operating at 100 running meters per minute. Sometimes, obviously, we are not at the top yield all the time. Every single minute lost, every 5 minutes lost for changeover, for looking for tools. It translates into loss. We meant to make the life of the operators, everyday life of operators, simply easier. And that obviously also translated in improved quality of our profiles, the sections that we were also manufacturing, because Kaizen translates into improved quality, obviously. We decided that if we succeed in this transformation, we stand a chance for success. One more thing to add. As we were making the strategic decision, and we knew that this is a kind of a risk to be taken, I think what helped Mr. President was the support from Gebhardt Stahl, Germany. As the Polish subsidiary, we had been functioning for 20 years thanks to the support for Gebhardt GmbH. They were experienced with the implementation of a lean philosophy and a green light from Raphael and Gerhard that we sent our regards to. And we visited them recently. However, they showed us that they had a contact with it, that there was a very nice prospect. So this collaboration, this communication was also of importance. We drew from the experience of, we might say that the older brother, if we are the younger sister. What was truly precious was a guideline from our colleagues from Germany. Do whatever we can, whatever you can, in order not to waste the initial energy, because that's how it sometimes is. You start with the peak energy and then it goes down very much. You know, there are those colorful sticky notes, post-it notes, everybody on the walls, and what the hell is all that? And the most important thing was to kindle the euphoria, but then to keep it kindling, obviously, to take on board those that were skeptical at the beginning. Yes, Mr. President, I really wanted to come back to this, because we started talking about difficulties, about all those obstacles when the transformation starts happening. So again, how to convey those on the Gemba, how to convey those on the shop floor, because they're asking what's the point about that. And I'm looking at Katarzyna right now, because I presume that Katarzyna is a quality and optimization engineer. You actually went through all of that toil. So we heard from the CEO speaking about the challenges and hurdles in terms of the organization of the transformation. Now, if we were to go down to these to those workplaces of operatives, what would you say were the biggest obstacles that you encountered in the transformation? Well, holistically speaking, about the project starting from square one, I wouldn't start from difficulties. I believe that the most important thing at the beginning, at the onset of the project, is to make everybody equally aware. So we must start with education. Not everybody has anything to do with Kaizen, with all the methods related, so that was very important in order to launch the implementation. Without the training, it would be very difficult. It's not possible that half of the personnel is well implemented, well trained, and the other half has no idea what that is and is completely non-committed. That's not a success story. That's not it. That's not how it begins. Some further difficulties that we might come across and did come across at the company was this. Well, hard resistance, truly hard resistance. Part of the employees actually went through it relatively unscathed. Thanks to the workshops and training sessions, they actually, well, they swallowed the hook, so to speak, and started collaborating with us on a regular basis. However, some of our employees really decided that denial is not just a river in Egypt. So we were to explain to them what the Kaizen transformation was really about and what we were supposed to attain and how they could help us. But we had to first make them committed. We had to involve that so that they feel this spirit, so that they come on board and move along with us. And there were obviously a lot of talks during the workshops, during the training stage. As a project manager, I did my best to get them involved, to encourage them, I kept asking what we could do more in order to persuade them. I really wanted to listen to what they thought of it, how they saw opportunity for collaboration, but, well, it was not always a success story. It's not an over process. It's still a work in progress. There are some that are still in denial, still in the resistance phase. I just hope that we will smoothly and seamlessly go to full-time operation. One more thing to add, because that may be important to our spectators. Is there any single specific element that, from the perspective of the operations and implementation of the project, you might have done differently, or you would have changed at the onset? I'm thinking about the perspective of all those that are watching and listening to us. Everybody thinking how to start, how to go about it. And since Gebhardt Stahl Polska are already experienced, yes, you know that you said that there may be some other pressures imposed, some things that you might do differently, but was there anything that you changed completely? Yes, I do believe there is this thing that I might have changed completely. I would train everybody on the fundamentals of KAIZEN. That was the very foundation, that was the base without which we wouldn't be able to move ahead. Another element that I might manage slightly differently would be this. Since we had 4 simultaneous parallel projects, I would try to avoid employees becoming involved in 4 projects in parallel. That's very difficult to manage HR-wise. Yes, the time when we started implementing KAIZEN was, let's say, not the most fortunate moment. However, on the other hand, we simply could not wait any longer. We were planning those enormous investments. We really had to increase the rate of reorganization in the company. We really had to accelerate. And yes, we knew that the challenge would be very high, that on top of what we were supposed to be doing, there would be the KAIZEN component as a kind of add-on. But again, with regard to your question, what I believe we should have changed, well, pragmatically speaking about many things, and I do try to be pragmatic about everything, what I would have changed, or maybe not changed, but maybe modified, I would have appealed to the KAIZEN Institute as an institution that implements the processes and the philosophy for the following. Let's keep in mind, and that's precisely what that's very clear in our company, what we are dealing with is a variety of characters within a business. We were taken completely aback that there were people operating a machine that, well, sometimes we don't have time to talk with them because everybody is doing their own job. But as the operators really got involved because they were somehow, chosen to be volunteers, it turned out that they really wanted to succeed. They really wanted to be heard. They wanted to be empowered. They really wanted to let us know what could be improved as far as individual pieces of machinery were concerned. It was so interesting to see them sharing some positive input, who of those were skeptical. And at the end of the day, we were left with a rather non-numerous group of those that had to be maybe not disciplined, but simply realize that there is simply no other way. And coming back to my remark on KAIZEN as such, the very diversity of our personnel is something that we have to realize. This is something that is present in every single company, not just a company such as ours. What I would continue, what I would recommend to be continued in further processes to be implemented is that the language of conversation, of communication, should be adapted to those that actually are addressed within the given process. In other words, if we try to address individual persons with Kaizen, they should understand what we are saying. If we just, jump to Japanese statements every now and again, they just won't get it. However, if we keep explaining what they all mean, they might understand, but they won't be too keen on, memorizing all the Japanese nomenclature. So in our company, we'll definitely try to use a kind of different nomenclature. I'm not saying that we should, treat them as the, as people that are not educated or they simply do not comprehend what we are saying. No. Actually, a part of the word gęba, which means an ugly face in Polish, basically, we rather scarcely use the Japanese terminology. Yes, we are far from Japan. We must definitely adapt the language that we use to the daily language so that everybody understands what this is about. A name is just a name. It does refer to a certain element of a methodology. It tells you how to proceed, how to go about it. However, we sometimes try to, showcase things in Japanese, but then we use Polish, English, Spanish, and German, so that everybody has clarity. I don't know, Agnieszka, where do you see the main hindrance, the main challenge? Not only from the gęba, but also from the top management. Well, one more thing. I think there are some difficulties or hindrances that in every situation that can be transformed, maybe not into a success, but into a strength. There were significant projects, business-wise, to the owners, to the top management. Both I and Katarzyna, more or less, we were involved into these projects. Marcin Maruszczak, whom you have met at the presentation, he was actually the key manager for program implementation. Katarzyna was deploying Kaizen and ISO. We knew that there were some colleagues actually engaged and will be engaged in implementation of further projects, individual wholes. However, we really had to make sure that the potential of energy, of concept, of idea had to be rerouted. That was a challenge on one hand, but on the other hand, since we were the participants there too, we had to do our best to be empathetic with people, to integrate. We thought what kind of language to use. And knowing these guys, since we had known one another for years, but we knew these people, whether they are, choleric, what their daily stance is, what their character is, that was very important to take that into account. A project sponsor does matter, obviously, but he or she is just a sponsor. In bad times and in good times, we always knew that we can go to Mr. President and he would hear us, at least listen to us. Yes, listening is so important. That is a skill that comes so useful in business, even though it is not given the right merit, it's not given the right recognition. So we use those questionnaires, those surveys, just to ask whether our employees understood what was happening. And there were some remarks, tiny little things, but we just talked to people. We went to the gęba, we went to the shop floor, and we saw that they provide us with some information, and the information is really irrelevant. And then, after a week, we would implement some tiny tweaks here and there. It just made them realize that it was not our project, it was their project. So regardless of the level in the hierarchy of organization, there is one more thing to be taken into account. Since we are a rather small structure, this empathetic standpoint of the management, responsible for 70 people, our role was not just to encumber the top management with our problems, but also to showcase our individual solutions and be there with every single person, not just in the face of success, but also when there were any problems, not just to summarize the project, being aware of the fact that this is just the beginning of the road. We change our life on a daily basis, but that's who we are. That's Gebhardt Stahl, and that's our people. Oh, I lost the point. What was I supposed to say? Go through it all. I think that's the most difficult thing. Coming back to what Agnieszka also brought to the table, what I'm interested in, since there are very different people among our spectators who might ask, all right, I'm in a company, I'm in a business, let's say I'm a quality engineer, a process optimization, marketing specialist, I don't have access to the CEO, to top management. So, what to do? And again, a question to you, Mr. President. How to convince all these people at top management level if we don't have the right, let's say, access path, while they are the key decision makers, not just the project sponsors, so that they define this as a kind of strategic vector. What made you believe in Kaizen? And as a kind of appeal to those that listen and watch us, they would say, oh yes, now I know how to approach my CEO and try to convince him or her.
It's quite a complicated story because the management board, well, it has a difficult task when it comes to contacting every single employee. There's not a lot of us. However, 70 people, this is something, isn't it? And it's impossible for the management board to basically listen to all the ailments, the employee reports. But we have this good tradition at Gebhardt Stahl Polska that if there is a problem, which an employee finds, a burden in their work because the problem can't be solved, they can always approach the management board at any time and signal the need for a conversation. And this is the kind of rule of thumb we follow. And now, how to basically draw 70 employees and make them follow you? And this is a difficult task. And some of them we didn't even have to approach because they were euphoric, so we didn't have to persuade them. And others, basically, they were kind of, gradually getting into that. And then we were left with a small group of the people we had to take on board this boat and sail in the right direction. It can be done, among other things, because at every position we have at Gebhardt Stahl Polska, we seek to select people who are good not only as, individuals as such, but individuals that fit within the team. If we have 3 people working on a machine, they need to work together. If we have accounting, there are 3 people that need to work together and cooperate, not to mention quality control, marketing, and so on. And so the board, the management board, could make use of people who would also contribute to all the employees having the conviction about the fact that implementing Kaizen is right and correct. And whether we call it Kaizen or whether we call it day-to-day improvement of processes, this is precisely about this name, that it's important to make sure that everyone has the same kind of frame of reference, that we're on the same page, that it's something we need, that everything we do is something we need. I just wanted to add, in terms of this contact between the employees and the board, we had this improvement introduced at our company. These monthly meetings at the shop floor level, these are all employees between shifts and as during the shift transition. And the management board can also participate if need be. The president of the management board, representatives of the management board participate, and then information is exchanged, and they can ask some questions which nag them or they need answers to. And they can also, the management board on their part can convey some specific information to the employees.
Dokładnie tak.
Well, exactly. This is going straight to the decision makers. And let's come back to our audience, because it's the last 10 minutes. I encourage you to ask questions on the chat, because I'll be looking at these questions shortly, appearing during our debate, and then I will give the questions to our guests. But I wanted to, in the meantime, I wanted to come back to one topic which is kind of hot on the market now. And, this topic, international social governance, is an element which is kind of imposed by various institutions. And what's going on in this direction I'm supposed to work towards. But also there's KAIZEN, the topic we want to introduce to reinforce our culture, to introduce various elements of process optimization. And at this point I wanted to ask Agnieszka, as a person responsible for sustainable development of the company, how do you see KAIZEN and ESG in the same place, and how do they fit within the KAIZEN transformation in the company? This is kind of a phenomenon in our company, that this system, which is currently being implemented from the top down, that companies need to take responsibility for the environment, for the local community they work in, for good relations with their employees, and, of course, for the business as such. This was given a name, but together with the president here and with the long-standing employees for many years, we have been building relations between people, and we've been sensitive to the employees' needs and to the natural environment in which we work in. So we were looking around. We were sponsors of, we have been sponsors of cultural, environmental, social campaigns. Also, Gebhardt Stahl, Germany, we had certain models coming. And I would say nowadays that the methodology can show us nicely how processes related to measuring the raw materials or resources. Now we don't say waste, you say resources. How to look where we're wasting water, for instance, where we could make energy savings, where the factors are which influence the natural environment. But the most important thing is not greenwashing, but it's about looking for financial resources which, thanks to the methods implemented and then defined by KAIZEN, would be basically where we could reduce the amount of electricity or pass to renewable energy sources, so that the money we obtain for the environment and for the community and for our clients, because we don't really work in a closed environment, but we create new solutions, in the first place to constantly improve quality, but these methods of measuring these resources used in production, so that they can contribute to products which our increasingly conscious customers would like to purchase. In terms of the construction industry, the openness towards this is well, perhaps not as great as in other industries, but we started earlier to notice these things, and basically this electricity, Marcin Maruszczak initiated this 2 years ago. We have PV on at every manufacturing shop, and we had this example with electric cars, and we obtained this from the parent company. And so these methods of measuring everything, it's not only about obtaining the financial means, the resources to to really channel them to these environmentally conscious actions, but also mindfulness and attentiveness when using this, being attentive to every element, because one piece of the puzzle actually creates the whole big picture. And if something is not going right in one of the elements, the system, the clients mainly, and the owners will definitely capture this.
Narzędzia kaizenowe, to co pani powiedział na przykład, odnoszą się do energii
So
elektrycznej.
these tools, they refer to electricity, water consumption, resources. It's using this only in terms of, when we map, we look at these elements, which are interconnected with the environment. Well, not every organization has the time to basically kind of do it, and so these ESG requirements made us stop and since they say, okay, the client expects you to map, so map the path of the material used to make your product. So this requires a wider approach, and this is from the point of view of responsibility towards the generations to come. So these Kaizen tools can allow us to actually systematize this method of checking it. Okay, so Mr. President, from your point of view, what does it look like?
Yeah, I keep listening actually to what Agnieszka has been saying. Yes, we do have these discussions on an in-house basis. Now, I'm an old school fella from the Warsaw School of Economics. So, well, let me say a couple of things from the employer's point of view. Keep in mind that with regard to what Agnieszka is saying, and ESG and so on and so forth, now, this is something that, well, that's the kind of a prodigy, our progeny that was born a long time ago, only now that this little child was given a name, a proper name, actually. Yes, we are trying to cut down on the cost. We want all the activities to be as cost-saving as possible. Obviously, to stress this maximize turnover and maximize profit. Very simple principles. That's what you are taught at the very first term of your studies in economics, aren't you? Now, to my bewilderment, actually, as I, switch on TV or radio when I listen to Agnieszka, ESG here, ESG there, ESG everywhere. But, I suppose the G, it's not in this best condition. I'm not sure about the future of a Polish economy, German economy, European economy. What we are dealing with is significant obstacles. We know that some went bankrupt for different reasons, unfortunately. On the other hand, we put a lot of emphasis and invest a lot of energy in discussing things, but also in being active. And that leads to a situation where we slightly push aside those typically production and trade-related activities, but we sometimes forget about those that are not directly conditional. Obviously, I'm not saying that we should not try to save energy or costs or maximize the use of human resources. And obviously, I'm not saying that we should not focus on treating everybody with the due respect. Yes, obviously, we should listen to people, but we should also have this bigger picture. It's good to have Agnieszka in-house, really. She took this burden. She became the bearer of this discourse on ESG. However, it all boils down to maximizing the results, right? Yes, obviously, we are not going to follow this old capitalistic system. We are not going to exploit our workers so that some have a lot and others have nothing. Obviously, both in Poland and in Germany, that's precisely what we are trying to follow based on Manfred Gebhardt's principle, who founded the company in 1982. And it is because of him that we are here. So we keep this heritage, we follow in his footsteps and make the most of the legacy. I was thinking, as you started talking about this business and economic principles, the old generation, the new generation, and we are talking a lot about ESG, about Kaizen transformation. We are talking about all those projects implemented somehow in parallel within the company. So what follows is a question I would like to ask to Katarzyna. Since there are many different people representing different generations, or millennials or Gen Z and so on and so forth, in the course of the implementation of all those initiatives, Kaizen inclusive, what could you say were the difficulties related to this different approach to transformation from different generations? And on the other hand, how did it change the mindset of these generations, those people put together and forced somehow to cooperate? Now, having a holistic view over this, let me put it like this. Every single employee has a different baggage of experience, different education. What surprised me was that the people that, well, let's say they were older than me, but not, not the baby boomers, obviously, but those having significantly large experience in working in my company were actually very committed. They displayed a lot of involvement and they got on board. They could be onboarded very quickly, while the younger people were not only more skeptical, but on the other hand, did not display this willingness to get involved straight away. I don't think we have Gen Z people on board, or maybe individual people. I wouldn't say that it really has some significant impact which generation one represents. It all boils down to some, well, internal mindset, system of beliefs, their willingness, commitment, but also, on the other hand, it all depends on the attitude of those that monitor, stimulate the projects, implement the projects, and the top management, how we convince them. One more question. Does Kaizen help in handling all of that, in reinforcing the way processes are implemented and optimized? I mean, for people from different generations. How can Kaizen be a tool for that? Or do you think that Kaizen has nothing to do with this generation gap or the fact that different generations are represented within a business? I believe it does have an impact on that. It does help. The very action or workshops in the spirit of Kaizen have an impact. The very fact that the company personnel is diversified generation-wise is just the value added, because everybody has different competence, different expertise, different experience. It all boils down to the capacity to create added value, such as this compendium of knowledge. Let's treat a team on the production as a kind of a repository of knowledge. There are people with different experience, but since at a certain point, let's say the profile makers started truly collaborating with one another and we entered this cooperation, we were able to extract from them precious information. It suddenly turned out that individual processes could take shorter time because just we implemented those tips and hints and tweaks from our employees. And that's basically it. It all boils down to that. That's the crux of this value-adding process. Let me just add that communication was crucial. The communication factor or the information acquisition channel. Yes, the communication or the information is the, and we've heard it, the petroleum of today. So just being able to talk to those people, being able to organize the communication well, based on those weekly and monthly meetings, it used to function on board, but it was thanks to the workshops and collaboration with Mr. President and with our teams. It is just scheduled, it is organized. Everybody knows that it's Monday, it's 8:30, we are going to be there, talking about this and that. We learn how to draw and extract information, but since we do that, we touch upon different problems. Communication is king in business. And it is thanks to these tools that we have right now at hand that we can do it more effectively. This is actually an element that is most visible, especially at the beginning of this transformation. Change of routines, change of task delegation, how it is cascaded, coming out with the channels to reach individual persons, for instance, those that are on the shop floor, and raising the topic of problem solution. Oh yes, I would like to add one more thing. Looking at you and listening to you, I would like to add one more thing. From the employer's perspective, we really have to be aware, both we and those that listen to us, that Kaizen cannot be implemented overnight. And on the other hand, we cannot just abandon everything that we have been doing and now turn to the Kaizen way, like that, overnight. We actually have a very good experience with Kaizen implementation, and we are going to follow this path, but we were doing it not to the detriment and to the expense of regular operations. For instance, I cannot imagine ourselves manufacturing fewer sections, profiles over our week, year, because of Kaizen implementation. No, on the contrary, it is Kaizen that is supposed to help us manufacture more. And the very beauty of Kaizen and the art in those that were involved, such as Katarzyna and Agnieszka, the whole crux of their effort was that we found a way to capture all of those aspects, tiny little things that we could actually implement in order to become more effective and efficient. That was one of the main reasons why we decided to implement Kaizen, being aware of the fact how time-consuming the process is. It is an endless journey, isn't it? Oh, by the way, Mr. President, I have a question from chat, and I think it is a question that should go to you. Piotr asks what the most difficult thing about Kaizen transformation is. As you were talking about all these components that blend together, what was, from your perspective, the most difficult thing? The most important thing with Kaizen implementation is to take the whole personnel on board, to convince everybody to implement it. In other words, to channel every person on board towards Kaizen transformation. Yes, it's as if we were to make them realize that everybody pulls the process, but if somebody stops to pull, we have to pull the process and the person that decided to stand still. I think that's the most difficult thing. And the second most difficult thing is what I've just said. Implement Kaizen not to the detriment or to the expense of the company. Yes, it's time-consuming, it takes you step by step ahead, but it must be a way ahead towards improvement for everybody on every workstation. There's one more question from Anna. Anna asked the following question. While working on continuous improvement, did you consider Kaizen methodology as more complicated, more complex? Have you found any non-typical solutions while implementing it? Katarzyna, maybe you? Generally speaking, the Kaizen methodology is indeed a complex one, comprising numerous tools and facilities. Now, from a perspective of the organization of a company, a business that undertakes transformation must think about the vector they are going to be guided by and which tools will come in truly handy. And that's because the methodology is so comprehensive and complex. You just virtually can't implement them all at the same time. So you cannot address all the areas at the same time. Sorry for saying that, but that's simply the case. So we should simply think about what the most important things are. Based on my experience, I was actually involved more into the operations and production, but also the strategy of the business is also very important. That's a crucial component. I think the Kaizen won't show everything to us, won't reveal all the problems, and won't fix all the problems. Actually, every single business has some problems, some errors, mistakes that cannot simply be solved by the book. Simple idea. There are complaints. Somebody manufactures, somebody sells. There will always be some complaints, some errors. The point is not to avoid them. The point is to minimize the number. However, inspired by Kaizen methodology, we can think on what to do, what has to be done to reduce the number of complaints as quickly as possible and to go as low as possible. How to convince the personnel to be more focused. How to make them think why the mistakes have actually been made due to different reasons, not just human factors. Maybe it's due to poor organization at a certain stage. These are all those things that Kaizen hasn't helped us directly, but we were definitely inspired by Kaizen to become even more involved. Our superiors say, yes, that's your duty to fight complaints and make them limited in number. Obviously, yes, by all means. But the methods may differ. Yes, I can tell somebody, well, you will be fired if you cause a complaint next time. But that's not a good method, isn't it? So, especially with Maciej Pietrucha, we talk a lot about it. That's why we talk so much about convincing our people that this is the path to success. One more thing. In situations when business is not going utterly as we would like it, you can do two things. You can blame people or look for those to be blamed, or actually try to come up with a solution. Kaizen methodology convinces you that you should definitely focus on solutions and gives you ways and tools to solve them. So understand that in one word, you might say standardization, or trying to align your steps with the methodology in order to solve a given problem. Precisely. Because that then translates into cooperation between individual workers and the way of solving problems in a creative fashion in such a interdisciplinary team. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, especially since we opened so many interesting doors of discourse. I think we could continue minutes, if not hours. But now, I would really like to summarize and close our debate by saying that I hope, in the first place, that we have given you very interesting dosage of insight, that you have found so many different experiences or standpoints of people from the same organization telling you how the Kaizen transformation affected the transformation and how it affected the business case and the business development from day one to yesterday on account of quality, cost, or other operating indicators. In order to envelope it somehow into one sentence, I would say that the Kaizen transformation, as you are perfectly aware of, it's not a quick race, it's not a quick run, that is truly a marathon run. And we were convinced by all the speakers that step by step, gradually, everybody has to be convinced, including the decision makers, so that everybody should go the same path by implementing the Kaizen methodology as we understand it. Once again, I would like to thank you all for joining us at this Kaizen Congress. And now I give the floor again to Mariusz and Marcin. Please go on, gentlemen.
Dziękuję bardzo.
We would like this evening of ours to be mainly a source of inspiration towards continuous improvement. We may be dealing with different sources of inspiration. Today we have heard the case studies of KAIZEN transformation, sharing thoughts and experiences during the expert debate, and it can be a book. As it happens during these events, we publish a new book in the field of Kaizen. During the last 2 editions, we presented a book by our guru and founder of our institute, Mr. Masaaki Imai. That was a compendium of knowledge for those who want to change the world, how to free yourself from old paradigms and replace the old traditional paradigm of quantity and speed. That was Kaizen's strategy. And another one was the Toyota Way by Jeffrey Liker, and the already cult status 14 principles were expanded by a major update. And today I have the pleasure of presenting another book in the field of Kaizen strategy, which describes the Kaizen method, strategy to action, in the strategy to action aspect, Alberto Bastos and Charlie Schaman. And this is a book entitled Strat to Action. They address a problem which is present in most organizations. It's a big gap related to that, which threatens the achievement of sustainable development in a longer-term perspective. And this book describes the journey of a company over 3 years, evolving from poor results to a high increase in profitability using the Kaizen management model. In a couple of chapters, the author has presented the application of the Strat to Action methodology based on the Japanese Hoshinkanri methodology. Strat to Action turns strategy into action, preparing the company through methodology-based management, leadership involvement, and the responsibility of all those engaged. And this book will allow you to understand the potential of Hoshinkanri, and year after year, step by step, you will be able to follow this. And it really fits the topic of today's Congress. Our publishing partner has promised that they will publish it on the 21st of June, 2 months from now. And by the way, I'm very curious, Marcin, who answered your question and who will obtain one of the books sponsored by a partner. Ladies and gentlemen, let us announce the results. And let us remind you that the prizes are Kaizen jako Strategia, Kaizen as Strategy by Masaaki Imai, Toyota Way by Jeffrey Liker, Toyota's Way Towards the Excellence in Services, Lean Strategy by Michael Bell, Daniel Jones and Jacques Chess, and how organizations really operate by Larry Mitzberg. And I've got the list of the people who answered the questions first, and we asked 2 questions, namely, what is the guiding theme of today's Congress, of this year's Congress? If you believe that this question was too difficult, and we had another question, what day related to the Congress theme are we celebrating on 21st of April? And now please give me the list of the people who answered. Congratulations! The organizational committee will contact the relevant people to arrange the details of handing over the books. We encourage you to network. This is particularly important for our development of the organizations. Our agenda and the value creation place is in our studio, wherever we can, or wherever we can communicate, wherever we can meet, wherever we can talk. So we already invite you to attend the 20th edition of Kaizen Congress in 2025. The information will be available much in advance on our website. Thank you. Thank you for the time spent together. Have a great afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.